There is no doubt anyone who's ever lived, had any experiences, knows that dependency breeds sloth, envy, evil, corruption, decadence, unhealthiness, mental illness. Victor Hugo, one of my favorite people to quote, French statesman and philosopher, said that prosperity makes monsters. Adversity makes men. I just kind of did it backwards. Adversity makes men, prosperity makes monsters. He also said no army can stop an idea whose time has come. And the globalists think that they're going to use high-tech systems to allow their dehumanization to finally work, and that this time tyranny will really succeed. There's an ancient war by control freaks against independent people. They don't like men that are better than them independently. They don't like women that are better than them independently. They have always sought to create organizations and systems to crush the greater spirits. And that's what this is all about, ladies and gentlemen. They are at war with us. And you are an independent, strong person who has dignity and who values being a good, honorable person, and they don't like that. And they're going to come after you. You don't want power. You don't want to run things. You don't want to boss people around. You don't want to be in control. You have enough dignity to not want to run other people's lives. Well, I got news for you. You're going to have to step up and take control of things, or you're going to lose your freedom. We have now entered the most decadent cycle this world has undoubtedly ever seen. Every major historian, every major social critic, psychologist, anthropologist, they're all on records from different perspectives. I don't care if it's George Will or Camille Paglia. I don't care if it's Dinesh D'Souza or Michael Savage. I don't care who the researcher is, left, right, center, libertarian, it doesn't matter. Humanity is entering the great crisis. And corruption is accelerating and hiding in the complexity. But if we, the good men and women out there, who aren't perfect but have a heart that loves justice, stop complying with open tyranny, rediscover our human dignity, oppression and all of its diseases will vanish like phantoms at dawn. Like mist at dawn, to quote Thomas Jefferson. I'm paraphrasing the quote. But if the people are educated in basic liberty and armed and ready to defend their freedom, tyranny and all of its corruptions will fade like the mist of phantoms at dawn. That's my own paraphrase of the larger quote that I haven't read in years. Look up a Thomas Jefferson quote about phantoms at dawn. I can give people the actual quote. That's what's going on here. Ignoring it doesn't make it go away. It makes it worse. And we've now reached that breach point that I could intellectually see, but also at my gut level feel the last few years, where wars are starting from Central Europe to Eastern Europe to the Middle East to Africa to Asia, with China threatening to attack not just Japan now, but the Philippines. The Philippines. Officially, a month ago, said we may just take major islands, like the Japanese did in World War II. I mean, it's the headlines are so off the chart, and then mainstream news is covering the latest kidnapped child with Nancy Grace and how Alex Jones is deeply racist and behind the Boston bombings. And how, you know, the alternative media needs to be shut down because it's evil, and how horrible Drudge is. I mean, it's Twilight Zone, folks. The White House has Media Matters every day attacking this operation and other pro-liberty operations wanting us shut down. What does that tell you about the all-powerful Sauron that is supposedly the New World Order? They're not that powerful. We could shake them off like fleas if we ever decided to do it. And they know that. They found the quote, "Enlighten the people generally, and tyranny and oppressions of body and mind will vanish like evil spirits at the dawn of day." Thomas Jefferson. And there's a longer quote that I conflated with that earlier part, but yeah, evil spirits, not phantoms. Yeah. Were you just on air, CJ? I'm glad you are, because when you talk to me, that's why you're welcome to pop in anytime you want.
Thanks.
Because it sounds like I'm talking to myself when you talk to me. I go, yeah, that's right.
Like talking to a fan.
My dad's heard it before and go, who are you talking? I sound like a crazy person. I already am, obviously insane. So please don't.
Ladies and gentlemen, Alex is talking to a real human being.
All right. I should probably open the phones up. I mean, there's just so much news here. Toll-free number to join us. First-time callers on this Thursday that feels like a Friday. 800-259-9231. 800-259-9231. In California and other states, people are going out with American flags to their border that's been collapsed, where the Homeland Security black buses pull in, now from Mexico. They're not even dropping them off at the border now. They're just bringing them in to then be deployed by the tens of thousands every few days as Democratic Party voters, as Colorado and other states vote to give them driver's license to vote. So all of this is going on right now. All of this is unfolding right now. And I mean, imagine if Mexico was busing U.S. citizens in by the tens of thousands every few days and giving us welfare and letting us vote. You would have Mexicans on their border protesting it. I mean, what are you if you're a citizen and pay taxes? What is it if you are a citizen and then you pay for everything but get nothing? The veterans are having their health care cut so they can enroll illegals. That's in the news. That's now on Fox News last night on Neil Cavuto with whistleblowers that have told Congress this, and nothing's being done. I mean, it's all a fraud. And then Obama's up there going, you darn anti-immigrant racist, in his speech over the weekend. Another speech he gave a few days ago. We played clips here. How dare you not do anything about the border? That's why this is happening. And all of this is going on while every other form of lawlessness you can imagine is unfolding. And then Hillary Clinton and Nancy Pelosi and Petraeus and all of them are saying at all these big think tank meetings, no, this is about North America. What comes after America? North America. That's why they have U.S. troops at public events patrolling Canada. I mean, that's in the Toronto Star. That's in the National Post. Look it up. Mexican and Canadian troops are to patrol America. Canadian and U.S. troops are to patrol Mexico. And vice versa. And, you know, I've got family in the last year who isn't in Afghanistan or Iraq anymore, running helicopter operations and ground operations, you name it. They're in Mexico. And I don't just mean northern Mexico. I mean deep in Mexico. All State Department run. And the public doesn't even know this is going on. We had Shelley Castile, former DEA agent, retired Vietnam veteran, been a Border Patrol agent after Vietnam, became a DEA, saying 8 years ago on this show, 2005, as it was 8 years ago, 9 years ago, the videos are public, saying our government's training Los Zetas as a CIA secret army to destabilize and collapse Mexico into the United States, and they're going to bring in martial law using it. And then Shelley, they came to Shelley and said, yeah, we heard your interview. He did another interview with us, and they said, in studio with video. He was in Kevin Booth's documentary that aired on Showtime as well about it. And they came to him and they said, you need to shut up. He's a school teacher in South Texas. And then because he was in a divorce and stuff, he had to sell his 20 guns to get money. And he moved into a trailer. You know how divorces are. No criminal record, school teacher in McAllen. And he went to the gun show at 3 gun shows and sold his guns. And a buddy kept saying, sell me another shotgun, sell me another shotgun. So he finally sold him the shotgun, just like the Green Beret with Ruby Ridge. And the state police pulled him over with the ATF and said, you're going to prison. And they railroaded him into prison for 3 years for gun running because he sold his guns. They set him up. That's why I've had family even say, hey, I want to buy that gun from you. No, I'm not even selling it to you. I mean, it's crazy, ladies and gentlemen, how screwed up this country is. And, of course, everything Shelley said came out. It came out in the El Paso Times about 3 years ago, and it came out in the Chicago Tribune 3 years ago, and then over the last 2 years, years after Kurt Nemo reported on it, we reported on it, that Los Zetas is totally CIA-run, came out in federal court to knock out the other groups and destabilize Mexico. So the globalists are collapsing Mexico into 130,000 dead in 8 years. They're overflowing the United States with refugees who then come into the very arms of the globalists to then become political voters in a bloc to take down the country. That's how this works, ladies and gentlemen. That's how the globalists operate. And that's the country we live in. You get a divorce, you're a sniper, Army veteran, Border Patrol agent, DEA, now a school teacher, you sell your guns, you go to jail. Totally legal and lawful. They've got judges that would put a 2-year-old into a gas chamber if they were told to. You ship tens of thousands of guns into Mexico to destabilize Mexico and blame the Second Amendment, you don't get in trouble. This is the country we live in where they allow the IRS to do things that are literally 100,000 times what Nixon did. Nixon had 120-something names in a safe, never used them with their IRS records. Obama publicly uses the IRS on tens of thousands of people, putting innocent people in jail, persecuting political speech, arresting Dinesh D'Souza, and doesn't get in trouble. You see, this is the total lawless evil that they have allowed, and then they've got coyotes publicly shipping people across on jet skis, shooting anybody in the head that gives them a problem. When you get shot in the head and your husband dies, the media says, oh, you're just being racist and made this up. Maybe the wife shot the guy in the head, until they get caught shooting more people in the head. I mean, it's a joke. America is gone. America is a giant joke to the world because we act like a joke. You take your shoes off, your belt off, you get yelled at by the TSA, you go through the lines, you get naked body scanned until you sign up for Trusted Traveler and waive all your rights into their system, which is the national ID card they planned all along. And then now I notice at the airport, they're phasing it back in to still search you when you do that. I mean, we know their whole plan. Even the TSA people that call themselves agents, they don't know what's going on. And by the way, I saw them putting little kids back in the naked body scanners. Congress told them, don't do that anymore, we'll defund you. And they go, okay, we'll stop. And they didn't stop because it's a military operation against us. Our government funds ISIS. I have a stack of articles here. They arrested people in Austin and Houston last month. In Austin and Houston last month for trying to go join ISIS to fight. And now a woman in Colorado has been arrested for trying to give material aid to ISIS, which is Al-Qaeda. Now, my issue is our government publicly gave them Stinger missiles. Our government has opened the border up for nationals out of Syria, Iraq, you name it, on record to be pouring across. China, Pakistan, it's just wide open. And people from all the world are landing now in airports in Mexico. It's on the news down there, overflowing to then take flights into the U.S. or to take flights up to the border and come right across. And then, but they'll arrest you, though, if you try to give material support because one hand doesn't know what the other hand's doing, see? Or it creates headlines, I guess, that scare the public that there's a terror threat. Of course it's a terror threat. Our government's illegitimate and is running it. So that's just some of the information. Smugglers threaten landowners in Cameron County, Texas. CDC ignores diseases, illegals, crisis. We reported on that yesterday. Today, HHS reports that that indeed is going on and that they are, quote, responding to it. No, they're not. They're bussing them in, ladies and gentlemen. They're just releasing them. It's incredible. I'm going to go to break, come back and talk to Daniel, David, Shane, Derek, and Seth in the next segment, the one after that. Then Lord Moncton's joining us with breaking news, and then the professor, Hamamoto, will be joining us. He is from UC Davis, a mainline, established professor, saying this is part of a takeover plan, basically. He's going to be joining us. Warren's amnesty will lead to creation of subservient underclass, literally slaves of the government. And he's not saying that because he dislikes the mainly Hispanic immigrants. It's that it's being done on purpose to create a new permanent Hispanic slave class that loves their slavery under racial identity. This is how you make slaves. You make them love it. So that's coming up, and he's an expert on that. So briefly, we will sell out of these very, very quickly. We have the new belt buckles in, the new Molon Labe belt buckles, ladies and gentlemen, are in. We've already sold half of them after they've been in for a week and a half. And we have just a few of the George Washington belt buckles that were not as popular. Still popular, they're almost sold out. But we have, ladies and gentlemen, the Molon Labe brass and the nickel silver plated, made in America for $44.95. Belt buckles like this anywhere else would be $100. They cost us 20-something to make. Help support the InfoWar. They're all discounted for July 4th through the month of July, along with some new Second Amendment T-shirts that are available at InfoWarsStore.com or Maiden1776.com or by calling 888-253-3139. Okay, let's go to Daniel in New York. Thanks for calling in as the country is publicly collapsed. Obama and the New World Order's little birthday present to the former republic.
Hey, Alex. Thank you for having me. I'm a really big fan and really appreciate all you do.
Well, thank you, my friend.
You were reporting on your website right now a impeach Obama protester charged for flying InfoWars and Gadsden flags. Well, that's me, who was arrested, and I wanted to address you and your listeners about how my rights were being violated in New York State. They were charging me for criminal nuisance and disorderly conduct for holding a peaceful impeach Obama protest, which no one was harmed or injured over the expressway. And I had a press conference on Tuesday with my lawyers, and we're putting a lot of pressure on Nassau County.
You know, it's funny that you called in. We have a story about you at Infowars.com today, Daniel. And this is in New York, where they said if you're pro-gun or pro-life, get out. And then Cuomo said, I'm serious, get out. He almost said, we'll break your legs, like right out of, The Godfather or something. And I want to get you on as a guest, maybe on the nightly news tonight or maybe on the Sunday show to properly talk about what happened to you, where the cop says you're endangering the public by your free speech. Monsanto will tell reporters they can't be on public sidewalks. I just saw a video of Aaron Dykes and Melissa Melton doing that. In America, they go, yeah, it's a public sidewalk, but you can't be here. This is what they do. This is the new attitude. I have videos out today where police beat up video people and then charge you with attempted murder when they beat you. If you put your hand up as they billy club you, but the borders are wide open. Yeah, you need to win this in court. And then you need to go after the so-called immunity of the police officer, because they don't have immunity when they're not executing the law. When they're frustrating the law, like cops trying to block black people from voting in the South in the 50s, they then have no immunity. And this fake immunity must be broken. And the grand juries and the juries must break it. Anything else? You want us to get your number and get you on the show?
Yes, I would love that. I really appreciate it. I would love to tell my story. And I'm wrongfully accused. I was well in my rights. And I'm going to fight this. I'm going to fight this to the...
I'll tell you what, we're going to put you on hold. Let's go to David in Florida. Thanks for calling. You're on the air.
Hi, Alex. Thanks for taking the call. Long-time listener, a Prison Planet subscriber. Want to welcome you back from vacation. And,
thank you.
A shout out to the prior caller for standing up for our rights. Yeah, that's a bold thing he's doing. But the reason I called you today is I wanted to talk to you about that interview that Karen Hughes of the IMF just did that was posted on the website a couple of days ago. It was actually they put out by SGT Reports, and you guys had relinked it. Have you had a chance to listen to that interview yet and get a read on what she's saying about the Federal Reserve getting ready to collapse?
Haven't we had her on before? Yeah. We've had her on. Let's get her on next week. In fact, I've been meaning to get her on. I actually watched some of that interview, listened to some of that interview. That SGT folks do a great job, and I do want to get her on to talk about that. But that's what a bunch of billionaires are saying right now in economists, so it's very frightening.
Oh, absolutely. But she actually stated in that interview that the dollar is going to be replaced by a gold standard currency.
Well, you know, she was mid-level, and I think she's an eloquent person who has a lot of courage, so I think she's a very credible, nice person. But I've interviewed her before, and I just don't think that, you know, everything she says is exactly the way it is. The IMF and World Bank have discussed a global 10% backed SDR, 10% backed with gold, so they could then manipulate gold at the same time, but still have fractional reserve banking. But then a lot of the Davos and Bilderberg people don't even want that. They want it pegged to digital transfers, any type of online banking, any type of purchases in a cashless society with a global Tobin overlaid with a global carbon, which is basically an omnibus VAT. And I think that's the way it's going. But I look forward to having her on. What do you think about it?
Well, I had some problems trying to understand the credibility piece because it doesn't align with Scripture, as you know, number one. And number two, the fact that she's been reinstated to the IMF was a little bit suspect to me as senior counsel. I mean, she was being chased by the Injustice Department of the U.S. Last time you interviewed her, and now all of a sudden she's back in the position she held previously.
Well, I mean, I think my gut is she's a real lady and not a bad person. A lot of times, if you make enough noise and you don't shut up from the intimidation, they try to buy you off. I mean, I've literally, no exaggeration, at least 6-7 times been offered huge contracts, way more money than I even make now, to join the establishment. So that's actually what they do, in my experience, is they either kill you, put you in prison, but if you're too obnoxious and they don't want to make a big deal out of it, they try to buy you off. And I'm not saying that's what's happening because I haven't been following it. It's just that they will try to get you back into the fold to try to get some control over you.
Well, I don't want me to dominate so much of your time, but before I let you go, I just want to let you know I'm holding you and the whole staff up in prayer daily. I know the Father's got his hands on your organization, and we appreciate what you're doing out here. God bless you, brother. God bless you. Yeah, our best works are dirty rags, but I can feel the presence of God with me every day, and I can feel your prayers. It's an amazing experience. Please continue the prayers and ask that God strengthen me to not be a worldly person. I have been syndicated for almost 18 years. I've been on air 19 and a half years. And since I've been syndicated back in 1997, late 1997, we have had the line broadcasting from deep behind enemy lines in occupied former United States. And the reason I've always put that out is because under the North American Union, under globalization, the EU model was the model for Asia and then the Americas and then the Caribbean and then Africa. Under that undemocratic, unelected model, you are literally occupied. And in 2007, Judicial Watch sued and got the absolute Rosetta Stone of this, thousands of pages that I spent weeks at night when my small children were growing up, literally reading it so that I would understand much of the full plan from the Banff, Canada 3-day meeting, where you had select inside crony capitalists there commanding the ministers of the governments from Secretary of State on down on what was being set up. They were actually having parliamentary votes under the secret agreement signed by Bush and Vicente Fox at Baylor University in 2005. And so you have to be honest that we are literally in an occupied territory. Just as Lord Monckton, who helped found UKIP a few decades ago with Nigel Farage, now the fastest growing party not just in the UK but in Europe. They are the Tea Party in Europe. Trailblazing, not copying our Tea Party. Our Tea Party came out of England. Parliament first voted to not have war with George Washington until King George went down and said, you've got to have a war. So the fight that we have in America for freedom started with Magna Carta in England in 1215. And then what came out of that, the Renaissance and everything else that followed. We now are continuing that same fight
globally, we're all in this together. What started in England and spread all over the world continues on the true spirit of 1776 against tyrants everywhere, whether they be big corporations, governments, mentally ill, kings. It doesn't matter. We have a right to self-determine and be free. And if you look at how they're usurping our freedom, it is the same old story being replayed. And so we know how to beat this. We know how to stand against it. So when I say broadcasting from deep behind enemy lines, that's not fiction. That's not hyperbole. That's not hype. I'm in FEMA Region 6. Obama has opened the border. Hundreds of thousands of illegals are pouring across, which will detonate the new flood that will be millions, which will be the crisis.
Hi, I'm Shane Steiner. A lot of you have been following my progress using Super Male Vitality. The last 19 weeks has been an incredible experience. I was feeling a little down and lethargic during the holidays, and none of the supplements that I was taking were doing any good. That's when my longtime friend from high school, Alex Jones, introduced me to Super Male Vitality. I was a little skeptical at first. Not only would I have the energy to work out and go to the gym, but it was actually the changes were happening to my body a lot more rapidly. My whole mood, my libido, everything had completely changed. The concentrated organic herbs, they stimulate your natural systems to produce the natural hormones that you need. I just really wanted to bulk up and hit it hard, and I went in for about the first 5 weeks and was lifting heavy weight and just really hitting it hard, and I gained 20 pounds of muscle immediately. Since that, I've decided I was going to lose some weight and slim down. I just changed up my workout a little bit, and 35 pounds came off. Folks, this is not a joke. This is not a gimmick, it's real. Super Male Vitality, available at InfoWarsLife.com.